Trades in the NFL. They aren't very common, but when they do happen, they make headlines. This past offseason, the Texans and the Cardinals pulled off a shocking trade where all-pro wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins was sent to Arizona for practically nothing. With the talent that Hopkins has, you would think that Texans would have gotten at least one first-round pick, but nope. Football mastermind Bill O'Brien traded him for a second and fourth-round pick along with David Johnson, an aging, broken running back with a horrific contract. Many people label this as the worst trade in NFL history. However, for me, it isn't exactly the worst, but it is one of them. So you may ask, well then NNT, what is the worst trade in NFL history? Well, the trade I'm going to talk about may not be the worst trade in NFL history. It is, however, the worst trade in the past decade, and who else to pull it off other than the Chicago Bears? Before I get started with the video, I just wanted to take a second to ask if you all could just take 10 seconds out of your day to like the video, sub to the channel, and share this with some of your friends. It's completely free and it takes no more than 10 seconds, and it goes a long way towards helping me with the channel. So with all of that out of the way, let's get started with the video. April 27th, 2017, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. On the steps of the art museum which Rocky famously sprinted up multiple times, the 2017 NFL Draft was taking place. This is a night that almost every college player has ever dreamed of, hearing their name called by the commissioner for them to go play in the National Football League. The Browns held the first pick in the draft, and it was pretty well known that Myles Garrett, the dominant edge rusher from Texas A&M, was going there. The Niners held the second pick, up until draft day. Bears GM Ryan Pace decided to strike a deal with 49ers GM John Lynch, where Chicago would move up one pick in the draft from number 3 to number 2. In return for the pick, the Niners got the Bears' 2017 first, third, and fourth round picks and a 2018 third round pick. So who did the Bears want so bad that they gave up a king's ransom of mid-round picks to move up one spot? Many assumed it would be a quarterback. Some of the top QBs in the draft include Deshaun Watson, the reigning national champion, Patrick Mahomes II, one of the better quarterback prospects in recent memory, and hell, even Mike Mayock had Deshaun Kaiser near the top of his big board. But the Bears decided not to go with any of them. No, they decided to go with Mitchell Trubisky, a quarterback out of North Carolina. So why did the Bears trade up one pick for the 2020 MVP? Well, according to the Chicago Tribune, Pace had his eyes set on Trubisky for a while, and he wanted to make sure he got his guy. So let's take a look at how Trubisky has panned out in the NFL. In his rookie year, he ended up staying behind veteran quarterback Mike Glennon for the first 4 games. Once Trubisky became the starter a quarter of the way into the season, he didn't exactly have Pro Bowl written all over him. He went 4-8 with a little under 2,200 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions with a passer rating of 77.5. Head coach John Fox was fired following the season, and in came Matt Nagy, the Chiefs' offensive coordinator. He was brought in to help turn around Chicago's offense and develop Trubisky. And for 1 year, it seemed like it was working. The Bears went 12-4 in 2018, winning the NFC North. Chicago had the 9th best offense in the league, and Trubisky earned his first, and so far only, Pro Bowl appearance, throwing for 3,300 yards with 24 touchdowns and 12 interceptions. They ended up being knocked out in the wildcard round thanks to Cody Parkey wanting to hit the uprights on a game-winning field goal, but it seemed as if Chicago had gotten their pick right with Trubisky. The following season, things went downhill for the Bears fast. While their defense was still top 5, their offense had dropped all the way to 29th, with Trubisky regressing terribly, having a little over 3,100 passing yards, 17 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions, and the Bears finishing at 8-8. His regression brought into question whether he would be the long-term answer for Chicago. To help answer this question, Chicago traded for former Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles from Jacksonville. They did this for 2 reasons. 1, to have a quarterback competition to motivate Trubisky to do better, and 2, for when they do end up benching Trubisky, spoiler alert, to have a reliable quarterback to put in his place. After an Eli Manning-esque fourth quarter comeback in week 1 and a tight win against the Giants in week 2, the Bears decided to pull the plug on Trubisky midway through the week 3 game against the Falcons, where the Bears found themselves down 26-10 midway through the third quarter. Foles then came off the bench and led the Bears to a 30-26 victory, cementing himself as the starter. Foles then led the team to a 5-1 start before losing 4 straight to find the Bears at 5-5. He was then injured late into their Monday Night Football matchup against the Vikings, where he would end up not playing another snap all season. Mitchie Poo would then have to come off the bench in an attempt to try to save the Bears' season. And he would. They ended up winning 3 of their last 6 games, along with the offense playing much more improved to finish at 8-8, clinching the NFC's final wildcard spot. The Bears would end up being knocked out in the wildcard round once again, this time by the Saints, who beat them 20-9 and has shut down Trubisky and the Chicago offense. With his mediocre play in both regular and postseason, combined with the fact that the team declined his 5th-year option, it appears that Trubisky has taken his last snaps as a Bear. So you may be thinking, so what, he's a bust, how is this worse than the D-Hop trade? Well, thank you for asking, random viewer. It's not just him being a bust that makes this an awful trade. After seeing how Mahomes and Watson have played in their pro careers, one can only wonder what Pace saw in Trubisky that justified drafting him over Mahomes or Watson. But here's the real kicker. Let's take a look at who the draft picks the Bears traded for Trubisky turned into. First, their 3rd overall pick ended up being Solomon Thomas, a defensive tackle out of Stanford. Now, while Thomas may not have been 3rd overall pick worthy, he helped the Niners defense pave their way to a Super Bowl appearance in 2019. So let's just assume if that pick wasn't traded, it could have been Mahomes/Watson going to Chicago. Their 3rd round pick in 2017 got traded to the Saints, who ended up using it on Tennessee running back Alvin Kamara, who won Offensive Rookie of the Year in 2017, has been a Pro Bowler in each of his 4 years in the league, and is widely regarded as a top 5 running back in the league. Their 4th round pick was also traded, but this time to the Seahawks, who used it on Tedrick Thompson, a below average safety who has been on 3 teams already. However, still on the board was Iowa's George Kittle, who the Bears easily could have drafted if they had that pick. And finally, their 3rd round pick in 2018 ended up becoming Fred Warner, a Pro Bowl middle linebacker who's also considered top 5 in his respective position. So just think, the Bears could have had Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson taking snaps, Alvin Kamara in the backfield, George Kittle balling out at tight end, and Fred Warner captaining an already great defense. But instead they were left with Mitchell Trubisky, whose only real accomplishment so far in the NFL is being voted MVP for Nickelodeon's broadcast of the 2020 wildcard game, just because Big Cat got trending on Twitter.